mentioning you with Carmen today as well during the program.
Oh, okay.
Because we cooked chicken with rice.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of vegetables with lemon.
And she's very good. She adopts, we're very similar in the adoption
Eva,
of food and how to be healthy with it.
Eva, and I like the way there's a very, very aromatic smell of lemon
very nice.
in the kitchen. So once this is done, I will...
I'm going to eat.
Yes. Because that's what I thought. John is coming, well, I'll give him today. I'll give him to eat. Listen, another topic, of course, which I really like, especially today. And I want to launch it via this feature that we're going to see together. U intom ħataraw magħna wkoll mid-dar. Ibqgħu hemm.
What makes you itch? What sort of a situation would you like? Let's suppose, I do this often in vocational guidance of students. They come to me and say, well, we're getting out of college and we haven't the faintest idea what we want to do. So I always ask the question, what would you like to do if money were no object? How would you really enjoy spending your life? Well, it's so amazing. As a result of our kind of educational system, crowds of students say, well, we'd like to be painters, we'd like to be poets, we'd like to be writers, but as everybody knows, you can't earn any money that way. Or another person says, well, I'd like to live an out-of-doors life and ride horses. I say, do you want to teach in a riding school? Let's go through with it. What do you want to do? When we finally got down to something which the individual says he really wants to do, I will say to him, you do that. And forget the money. Because if you say that getting the money is the most important thing, you will spend your life completely wasting your time. You'll be doing things you don't like doing in order to go on living, that is, to go on doing things you don't like doing, which is stupid. Better to have a short life that is full of what you like doing than a long life spent in a miserable way. And after all, if you do really like what you're doing, it doesn't matter what it is, you can eventually you could eventually become a master of it. The only way to become a master of something is to be really with it. And then you'll be able to get a good fee for whatever it is. So don't worry too much. Somebody's interested in everything. And anything you can be interested in, you'll find others who are. But it's absolutely stupid to spend your time doing things you don't like in order to go on spending things you don't like and doing things you don't like, and to teach your children to follow in the same track. See, what we're doing is we're bringing up children and educating them to live the same sort of lives we're living, in order that they may justify themselves and find satisfaction in life by bringing up their children, to bring up their children to do the same thing, so it's all wretch and no vomit. It never gets there. And so, therefore, it's so important to consider this question: what do I desire?
It's a nice topic. Very good.
It adjusts and adds up everything that it's important in life, in my opinion. What is really important, what do I desire, what do I want, where I need to go. I think there are a lot of things and such topics that people just don't think about and try to hide. And I encountered that footage by a very, very big coincidence.
Yeah.
And I said today with John, this is it.
Well, you know, you said I, which is really, unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but the way we should be teaching is about I. We have to take responsibility for ourselves. And when we're raised, we're taught about others. And we're told that if we think I, we're selfish and self-centered. And well, how can you ever facilitate the life? How could you ever even know what it is that you want? How could you ever be all that you can be without first starting with I? You know, and there's so many people around that try to make your life their life, you know, the things that they couldn't do because they were told, do for others. So they got to a certain point in life and realized that they've accomplished
This
little.
is so true.
They haven't seen nothing. They haven't experienced the happiness and the joy. So now they manifest that onto you to live their life, the life that they didn't lead. And in the end, your life is still your life, and maybe not the same path and not the same desires and wills. And I mean, it's as he said, it just perpetuates this enclosure and entrapment of a life and of a spirit. And you know, it's so important to start with I.
But why do you think sometimes people find it so difficult to just be happy? I mean, sometimes people worry about what others might think, how I'm going to hurt, who will cry over this decision, who will hate me for this decision. But people tend to worry about what all of the rest in their circle, people who are supposed to support them and love them, would think, instead of being happy. I really cannot understand. I mean, I'm not a cruel person, you know me by now, but if I have to take a decision, irrelevant of who I'm going to hurt, it might be business, it might be friendship, it might be personal, it could be anything. I will stand by it.
But you know why. When you're asking that question, you already know this answer. Because so many people's confidence and esteem and self-value and self-worth are not tied up in themselves.
Do you think
But it's
that
tied up in what others think of them. So the rule has to be that if you're happy with me, then I'm worth it. But if you're not happy with me, then there's something wrong with me. And you don't live that way. And I don't live that way. My happiness is not dependent on you. My self-confidence isn't dependent on you or how you think of me or what anyone thinks of me for that matter. But so many people are not brought up that way because we are taught to be careful what you say and what you do.
I wasn't brought up this way, I have to be honest.
Okay. In
My
what
mother
way? To be into self? You were brought up to be...
I was brought up to worry about more about what people would think of me rather than what... I mean, it's natural. I think I wouldn't have children and I would raise them as my own values. I mean, you're happy this way, you want to get your hair dyed in pink, do it. I don't care. I mean, life is all about acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
But then I think life comes to a point whereby you need to pull up your socks and decide where... Let me give you an example, which is very traditional in Malta. A couple, they are married. I hear this a lot, especially from the women and not from the men, because my husband is my life. If he would leave me, I would kill myself. I mean, I love my husband tremendously, don't get me wrong, and I really, really do. But my life is not just him. My life belongs to me. And people might say, oh, what the hell is she talking about? But when I was alone and really alone, and I had to fight for my life, I fought for me.
Mm-hmm.
So really and truly, not to be selfish, because I won't imagine my life without my parents, without my husband, without my sister, without my closest friends. I wouldn't imagine. But if I have to tell you something, for instance, you as a close friend, right? I would tell you even if you would hate me for it, because else I wouldn't be a friend.
But that mentality and that strength that you have is very, very great to have. But it goes against the conditioning of our culture. It goes against the conditioning or the ingrained mentality of our families. But that culture that we're brought up in really tends to take over those that are a little bit weaker. So those who see a little bit of opportunity, or those who seek internal strength, those who see things a little bit differently, will take some of those words and some of those nurturing or experiences and start to say, they'll question them. And when they question them, they start to come out more like what you're saying, how you're saying for yourself. That is somebody who has the question. I wasn't raised that way, but I asked the question of the validity of the way I'm being raised. Is this right for me? And not a lot of people do that.
And even in a relationship, for instance, let's say I don't like to eat lettuce, and my husband loves lettuce, right? I don't have to stop eating the lettuce.
You don't have to make fun of him for eating lettuce, you know. I mean, you don't have to make fun of him or
but he
belittle
needs
him
to
for the
compromise
difference.
as well. This is where I think I'm abnormal in my thoughts. Because if, let's take a good example. Let's say I like to travel
Yeah.
and my husband doesn't like to travel.
Hmm.
Why should I give up traveling just because he doesn't like it?
Right.
I mean,
So where's the compromise?
we should meet halfway.
Which would be, yeah, what would be what?
He should still come. For instance,
Well, he
this
does.
is
He
a
takes you to the
stupid.
airport
This,
and then he watches you fly away.
this is a stupid example. I'm
But-
talking more about.
But a compromise doesn't mean that a compromise might be that he says you're traveling and that's fine. So travel with your friends or do what it is that you need to do. And his is something else altogether. It doesn't have to, the compromise doesn't have to be over the traveling itself.
I know, but for instance, if I hate doing a thing which he likes and I do it anyway because I love him, the same should be. People should learn to compromise.
Yeah, I mean, compromise is important, but a compromise is important until it breaks or it goes completely against your moral integrity or something that is very important to you. So if somebody, if I, want to travel and the person I'm with doesn't want to travel, and I find it a necessity to get my bearings and to clean myself, to keep myself sane, I have to do it. Now, it's not to do it against someone or not to hurt somebody, but it is.
But
for
that's
my
where many relationships go down. Because they won't come, but they won't let you go on your own.
Well, okay, but that's
That's
a
being
mistake.
so
Yeah,
selfish,
but
and
that's
I
a
can't
mistake.
stand it.
But everyone's unique, and just because two people come together in a world and decide to try to make one together doesn't mean that you just completely adopt another person's way of living or their lifestyle. You can't do that. You came in as an independent, and there's something that the other person actually saw in you, which was unique and inspiring. And what they saw in you, they shouldn't want to take away from you once you're in the relationship. They should still relish in those things and say, these are the
Exactly.
things that will help me to be better. So, I mean, listen, when you start going into the relationship part of things, then I have tons of opinions. But when it comes to this and being, for your life, and, it's important that you, as an individual, finds out what is the most important in your life, because whether it is in a relationship or whether it's out of a relationship or many relationships or whatever the case is, there's no limit or guarantee to life. And if you are going to suffer and sacrifice and give up all of these things and, looking back, say, what have I done? That seems to be not a life that, for the one shot that I have at it, that I really want to live.
And it's really one shot, which people
That's
don't realize.
I'm not going to say I want it my way, but I'm going to say that the way that I need it to be for me, I won't veer off of that course. So I have only two options, really. Either I'm alone, or I'm with someone who is like that, who travels that path, not by me making them, by them being that way already. And that way it's sharing a vision, but it's a vision that someone already owns on their own, that you're not having to make happen for you. They share the vision. That's who they are, and that is a path that ultimately you take and create that longevity for life. Or else you have to do it alone, or someone's going to change or something. But I mean, life is meant to be lived wholeheartedly, 100%, fully committed in the way that you yourself see it being done.
One of the topics that he mentioned was money.
Yeah.
What do you think about money?
I mean, listen, money to me is all money is for, is to give me the freedom to enjoy life as it is. That's it. I mean, if we didn't have to have money, then that would be absolutely fantastic. But I mean, I only see it as a resource to buy me the freedom to sit back and just breathe, so that I can eat, so that I can go away somewhere and see the sights. That's it. It's not to buy power. It's not to buy favor. It's not to buy, happiness. It's not going to buy love. It's not going to buy anything. It is just essentially an opportunity you need it to give yourself the time, because life is about time. And we measure our time nowadays by money, because if we don't have money, we don't have any time. Right? Because what are you going to do when you don't have money? So you don't have a home, you don't have food to eat, you can't drive nowhere, you can't afford to sit back and enjoy life and breathe the sights in, because you're so all consumed with the fact that you need to eat. So we need money. But it's the purpose for me is it's got to come a certain way, and I don't need to make millions to be happy. I just need to be able to take care of the life that I want to live.
What is your take about greed? I know many people who are greedy, unfortunately. I like to share everything I
Yeah.
have, even if I don't have anything, I still share it.
Well, greed is, to me, is greed is where someone just is never happy with anything, you know, and they always have to have more. And, you know, you say, listen, I just want to be able to have this so that I can provide this. And then when you get there, you want to have more, and then, you know, and more. And instead of living with what you're capable of living with and being comfortable with, you always have to take it to the higher level. So, you know, and always pushing and pushing and pulling and ultimately wasting life just to, you know, walk away with the biggest house, the biggest car, the biggest. And to me, that's greed. It's not. There's no value in that. I mean, nobody remembers you because you left behind 10 cars in the garage and 50 motorcycles, and, you know, you have 10 houses all over the world. No one remembers you for that. They remember you for the legacy that you left, which is the words that you said, the kindness that you gave, the smile, the pat in the back, the character who you are, the integrity that you stood for, the messages that you said. And that has nothing to do with money, you know. And so, you know, to me, I mean, as I said, we need money. But to a point of being greedy and taking more than you need, and you know, and all just for a big show, it's irrelevant.
A rhetorical question, but while you were talking, I realized one thing. Why do you think people forget that they have to die? If everyone, I mean, we are lucky to wake up every morning,
Yeah.
to be here 30 seconds in advance from now, quite honestly. And I think people forget that. And then when they get sick and they have the time to rectify or whatever to do with their life, they panic. You start, for instance, I'm on my deathbed, I've been cruel to you,
I want to fix everything in the last 5 minutes. Why
I'm
do you
sorry,
always
that's
leave it
not
like that?
done.
I think mortality is something that's it's a fearful thing, because, you know, like, I mean, no one knows whether they're here today or gone tomorrow, and I mean, I guess that's, you know, we're all looking for stability. If you ask anyone what is it you want in life the most, you'll ask a woman, what do you want? Stability, security. All right. Well, in life there is no stability and
I
no
would answer, I
security.
just want to be happy.
Yeah. Well, that would be a great answer, but most will say stability and security. And in life itself, when death is opposing us, there is no stability or security.
But what stability? I mean, I never get this.
It's an ideal. It's not the reality. It's an ideal. How can you live? You know, you could work in a job for 20 years, and the company itself could go down. So I mean, nothing is stable. You could an earthquake could take you out. You know, we just watched
I think stability is boring.
yeah.
I mean, you know what you're
there's
going.
there's more excitement to the twists and turns of a roller coaster ride than there is to going down a straight road.
Because if you're happy now, it doesn't mean that you will be happy 10 years from now. So stability makes you go into such a routine, according to me, which it doesn't mean I'm right, but it's my opinion, where you don't appreciate people anymore. Because it's stable, I mean.
Complacency, and you stop thinking. But that's why I think people don't think about, because they get complacent and they just don't want to think that tomorrow is coming and it could end. So they just put it on the back burner, and they just get themselves so immersed in all the issues. And if they don't have issues themselves, they look at other people's issues and start talking about their issues, so that they don't have to be focusing on themselves and the reality of life. I mean, it's very important. You know, I say it all the time. How do you feel today? You should feel great. You woke up this morning, and that's something that, you know, if you woke up this morning, it's a gift. And that's, I think, something that people should be very aware of, because there are moments and people around you, and you know, people that have just disappeared in a day. And
There are people who wake up grumbling in the morning. I mean, you just woke up, for God's sake.
Yeah. They they came out of the wrong side of the bed, they said.
But there are people who come out of the wrong side of the bed every day.
Yeah.
And they come to work and they get that negative aura with them, and it's everything frustration and whatnot, and it's not fair.
Well, it's not ideal, and it's not ideal to, as I said, if you're trying to live a life that is of value and of a positive nature, then the things out of your mouth every day have to be that of positivity. We have to look at all the negatives and see the silver lining in it all. We have to try to see, you know, the good in everything, and I think that's what it's about. And I mean, I don't know. Listen, this is the hardest thing, because there was never any explanation why we're here. There's no explanation of why we're leaving. No one did a how-to book on how to live it. No one said this is the way it's got to be, or this is the way it's got to be. We're so unique and so different, and so that we have to experience all of life really by trial and error, just by how we do it. And what I do might work for me, and then you try the same thing, and it's just completely the opposite response because you're different, you think differently, you feel differently. So as much as it's really great in talking about all of these things, I mean, that's why this ultimately comes down to a personal journey. It's you and yourself, and that's it. And I don't care who you bring into your life with you. You could try to have a million friends and try to hide in that or whatever, but still in the very end, the journey is yours. You came in alone, you will leave alone, and what you do in this life is in your hands. It's your choice, you know. And that's the big question: is what is it that you want to do? What do you want to do? And how do you want it to be? And if you get the chance at the very end to look back and say, were you proud? Are you thankful? Are you happy with the circumstance of what you've done? That's the question that we should be looking at down the road, is what are we doing enough today to be thankful whether we leave tomorrow or in 30 years that we did our very best?
That was deep. It's Roma, vero. Time is up, right? Time is up. We have to close the program, but of course you'll be with us next week as well. Grazzi tal-li kontu maħna, grazzi tal-li segwejtu din il-trasmissjoni, aħna konna ma'kom il-raxxa ta' filgħodu, grazzi kbira lill-crew kollu li assistini għal matul dan il-programm. Jiena narakom il-lejla b'mitqlu deb, ħalli nkomplu nagħtu iktar sorpriżi lil dawk in-nies li għandhom bżonnhom u li ħaqhom. Ġifieri minn hawnhekk insellmilkom Belly in the Morning li ntaqgħu da filgħodu fl-10 ta' filgħodu naturalment, imma l-lejla għal-ħabta ta' 8:30 nissuġġerilkom tixeru television. Grazzi minn qalbi.